someone asks, "How's your French going?" you can say,
Babbel facilite grandement l'apprentissage d'une nouvelle langue.
Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
It's time for game night, getting you ready for Sacramento Kings basketball.
He's got the bucket!
Game night is presented by Power Business Technology, your locally owned and managed Toshiba copier dealer. Contact them at 844-POWER-BZ or visit them at powercopiers.com. Here's your host, Scott Marsh, alongside the high flyer, Henry Turner.
And a very pleasant good afternoon to you. Welcome into game night right here, Sacktown Sports 1140. Scott Marshall on with the high flyer, Henry Turner. It's game 4 of the 5-game preseason for the Kings. It is Utah tonight, Clippers on Thursday, and then it starts for real next week. High flyer, I've got to ask you, you were off on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have a premonition? Did you have some inside knowledge? Did you know what was going to go down at Golden One Center on Sunday? Because you picked a great day to be gone.
You know what, Scooter? I would love to say that I saw this coming, but I didn't. And I was actually listening to the game. I was tuning in for the short period of time that I did.
Yep.
And I'm like, come on, fellas. I know we're not doing this. We're not doing this early. Come on. This can't be happening.
It did happen, and it was a real stinker, and we're going to talk about it for a little bit, but then we'll move on, of course. Want to set up the show. You and I will be here until 5:30 today, getting you ready for Kings Live pregame. You'll be here for that with Jason Ross. 6 o'clock tip tonight, as always, the G-Man with the call from Salt Lake. If you want to join us, you can give us a call as well, 1-800-920-1140, 1-800-920-1140. We'd love to talk to you, anything Kings NBA related as well. You know, the thing of it is, okay, it's preseason.
Sure.
It's preseason. We don't care about wins or losses. That's not what it's all about. But I can tell you, having sat in that game and watched it, it had a feel of a regular season game with the Kings against a lower level Western Conference, Eastern Conference game that didn't have anybody playing, getting down by 35 points with the King starters playing. And again, it's preseason. Okay, I got it. But I'm telling you, it had that stench of some of those lousy games from last year.
It had the feel of, we've seen this movie before.
Yes.
You know, I mean, tough games, Scott. But let me ask you this. Because, like, I know I look at preseason totally different than a lot of other people do.
Yeah.
Because I'm looking for small things. I'm looking for, you know, different combinations. I'm looking at how guys play together. I'm looking at body language, all of that stuff.
Right.
But this is game 4 out of 5, right?
That was game 3. Tonight's game 4.
I said this will be 4 out of 5.
Correct.
But are you concerned that the Kings haven't won one yet?
No, absolutely not. Like, again, this is not about wins or losses because
so some people are, though.
No, and I understand that. I don't get it, but I understand it. I mean, just looking at it in the reverse. How many times we talked about this, did the Kings go undefeated in the preseason, only to have 20-25 win seasons?
Right.
So the wins and losses mean absolutely nothing. But the context of how they played, I mean, for example, the 2 games against Golden State were really good games, highly competitive games.
Competitive.
Almost felt, quite honestly, like late season games with the starters out there. So certainly can live with that. You saw some things, you know, we were talking about Isaac Jones and what we saw with him and Boogie Ellis, and just kind of looking at the things we should be talking about in the preseason. This one, you know, especially with the Blazers, they didn't play a lot of stars. I mean, Jeremy Grant was there. Okay. DeAndre Ayton did play. It's not like they didn't have anybody, but it was just the way it went down. You know, it just felt like the effort wasn't there. Mike Brown said it as much, you know, that they got outworked. And those are the types of things, whether it's regular season or preseason, it's like those are the things that are hard to take in.
Now, see, Scott, that right there bothers me more than them losing the game when Mike Brown come out and said that they were outworked. Because the way this team is constructed right now, we're going to be playing a lot of small ball. And you have to learn how to play small ball to be very consistent at it. And if the Kings are going to do that, outworked isn't a word that needs to come up in your repertoire, because if you playing small ball, you got to pick up the speed. You got to use your pace. You got to really get guys tired, because if you don't, you're not going to be at an advantage to win. All teams that play small ball, you got to get after it.
Yep.
And that's going to have to be a staple in your arsenal. If you come out and you come out lackluster, you're already small.
Yep.
If you come out lackluster, you're not going to win.
No, exactly. The crazy thing about it, the Kings went on like a 16-0 run late in the fourth quarter. I think Portland scored the final bucket to get it within 20.
Oh, my God.
You know? So those are the things that are hard to process. But
and then another thing, let's add this on to it, Scott, because we've seen this a lot last year.
Yes.
The Kings go through the motions until the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And then
they turn it on.
They flip the switch.
Exactly.
Thinking that, okay, well, we can flip the switch and we can score enough to come back from this 20, 25 point deficit.
Right.
That's not going to work in today's NBA.
No, not with any team anywhere.
I mean, we've seen it done. Don't get it wrong.
Okay.
We've seen it done, but you can't consistently win that.
No, and we've also seen it not done.
True.
You know, so, and I think that's the thing. We hit on it here. It's not even so much about this particular preseason game, although we don't like the fact that they were outworked, but it's the fact we've seen it last year in regular season games. And if this team is going to set the tone, it's not about the wins or losses in preseason, but it's about how you approach it regardless.
Yes. You know, let's go back to it and reiterate the two Warrior games. The Kings look great. I would say the top 5, top 6, top 7 guys, and that was with Malik Monk just playing a little bit here, didn't even play down in Golden State,
right?
And they look great. You know, played very solid, did what they need to do with the basketball, even though they still lost the game.
Sure, and you can talk about 3-point defense and things like that, but those are correctable things.
I was still fine with that because we wasn't talking about non-effort and getting outworked at those positions, at those positions, those situations. When you start talking about just getting outworked on the floor, that's going to ring different. It's going to hit different when you start talking about this Kings team.
Yeah, I agree with that. The other thing that might be alarming, and again, it's preseason, so again, no, not enough size to take it in or not, but we know the 3-point shot was a challenge for the Kings last year. The Kings shot 5 of 28 from 3-point land.
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
I'm fine with that. You know what alarms me more than that?
What?
Go to the free throw line.
So they were 10 of 14. Portland was 17 of 26.
10 of 14 is the best they shot these 3 games.
Yeah.
Because the other 2 games, they were missing free throws again. And when you talk about a basketball team, you know, Scott, our big thing here is going to be wins and losses.
Yeah.
Our window to win is now. Not next year, the year after that. Our window to win is now. I give the Kings a 3-year run with this squad that they got right now.
With DeMar's contract.
Exactly. To do something special. So when you start talking about losing games, 1, 2 possessions, you can go to one category only and say, okay, this is how we won or lost this game. And 9 times out of 10, you and I, we talk about it. We go straight to the free throw line.
Yep. And I'll agree with that too. Now, maybe fair to point out in this one, 2 of the missed free throws were DeRozan's, and that's like lightning striking twice. But
Debo, we got to talk, bro. Come on now. You solid. You solid.
That's not going to happen.
If it's one dude on this team that we know going to knock it down, it's Debo.
Yeah,
come on, DeMar.
That's not going to happen. So, you know, we don't have to worry about him in a regular season, I don't believe. But to your point, free throws were an issue with this Kings team, and especially when you start talking about Fox and Sabonis, who are going to take a lot of free throws.
And Scott, and when we talk about this team, this team really missed out on something significant by just a couple of games.
Right.
And we can count on one hand. We missed 5 games by 1 or 2 possessions.
Yep.
And that kills you. That will kill you. That was the make or break between making the playoffs and having to struggle in the play-in.
Yep. No doubt about that. All right. So those are some of the things from Sunday. We will turn the page on that when we come back. We'll focus more in about what's going on with the Kings. Couple news items as Jalen McDaniels traded along with the 2nd round pick. They're clearing out some more cap space. We'll touch about that. De'Aaron Fox reportedly not going to sign his extension this year. Wait till the end of the season. because he's up for a little more money if he does that. So we can talk about that as well. And of course, we
More
want to get to your
money,
phone
more
calls
money.
as well. 1-800-920-1140. It's game night. It's being brought to you by Mercedes-Benz of Stockton. Go check out their full line of luxury vehicles at nbofstockton.com. We are up and running in our YouTube. We'll be chatting in there throughout the hour during the breaks. Also, if you want to join us on our Sacktown Sports YouTube page. Scott Marshall with the High Flyer, Henry Turner. It's game night right here. Sacktown Sports, 1140.
Alrighty, we are live on YouTube.
Kyle, how are you?
I am doing wonderful. This is our first time we've been all back together this season.
It is. The team is back, and I will only take one dig and then we'll move on from it. I don't see your Padres jersey, like you were wearing all week long. You hadn't washed it. You wore it like 17 consecutive days. I don't see it on now. Why?
Why would I need to keep wearing
Exactly. You don't.
it? Because
they're at home right now.
yeah, it's over.
It is over.
You guys got kind of salty at you, Kyle.
Well, I guess so. He's a
Well,
big
we
old.
were working, game night together.
Yeah, he a little hurt.
And he had
I
to
was
put on
listening.
his Padres jersey.
I was listening.
Yeah, big old Dodger fan over there is real excited,
Yes.
about his
All right,
season
we'll
going on.
move on.
Listen,
From
he
that.
a little moist, Kyle.
Yes, we'll move on from that. Kyle, since you're joining us, what was your takeaway from Sunday?
Oh boy! So in the second half of the game, G-Man had the stat at one point. It went from they were down 2 at halftime to I believe it was a 50-21 run for the Portland Trailblazers.
At one point, it was like 36-15.
Yeah,
between second and third quarters.
and most of the Kings starters. I mean, Mike Brown had said they were hoping that the starters would get a chance to play deep into the game. So I just kind of look at it like if you get outscored by 29 points in a span of 15 minutes, that's more of an effort thing than anything else.
Yeah.
Because best teams in the league, worst teams in the league, it's really hard to get outscored by 29 points in 15 minutes of game time.
It just snowballed on them.
But you know what, though, fellas? Okay. Instead of us saying, okay, they got mollywopped by 21 and got down 30-something.
Yeah.
How did they get down by that much? And where were they getting beat at? I mean, was it just jump shots? Was it just straight line drives to the basket? Let me know how this came to be.
Their third quarter was just horrendous. They couldn't make a bucket to save their life.
Okay, they couldn't score.
Nope.
But how was Portland scoring?
Transition defense. That was the biggest issue. Transition defense was abysmal. Mike Brown was just burning timeouts.
Yeah, Mike Brown was out of timeouts.
See, that's what I want to hear. I want to, because like I said, I was just listening.
Yep.
I didn't get the feel of how are they killing us this way? Is it a situation where it's just a track meet and they're beating us up and down the floor? Were they just knocking shots down like crazy? How was it?
Here's the other thing we'll get into, but the Kings had 26 turnovers in that game.
Okay.
And they had 11 of them in the first quarter.
That'll push it out there too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they also
sloppy with the ball.
They also scored 33 points off those turnovers.
Yes. In transition.
A lot of those were in transition, of course. Yeah, absolutely. So, yep, that was a few of the items there.
Yeah, everything across the board. I mean, that's usually how you end up getting down by that many points. We got about 10 seconds left here until we come back.
To your favorite live sports with the Xfinity Stream app. Actual speeds vary and not guaranteed. Streaming content limited to the U.S. Programming subject to change.
Welcome back into game night right here, Sacktown Sports 1140. Scott Marshall on with the High Flyer, Henry Turner, taking you until 5:30 today, getting you ready for Kings Live pregame. 6 o'clock tip again, Kings in Salt Lake. They'll take on the Jazz. Lauri Markkanen back in a Jazz uniform. There was a lot of talk in the offseason, High Flyer, where he might end. I know some Kings fans wanted that Kings jersey on him. I know a lot of people in the Bay wanted that Warriors jersey on him.
I'll tell you what, I mean, the dude's a stud, man.
Yeah.
And I understand Utah just wasn't going to give him away.
No.
I mean, they wanted the kitchen sink for this young man, and I understand why, because he's an enigma in this league.
Yep.
To be 7 foot and do what he does out there on the floor, you don't find too many guys like him. So I understand why they wanted everything.
No doubt. He is a unicorn, much like Porzingis, who actually has the unicorn name. A couple of things that came up in our discussion on YouTube during the break. We'll touch on those. Obviously, you were asking how the Kings were giving up all these points on Sunday. Well, they had 26 turnovers. 11 of those came in the first quarter.
Right.
Like
I said, it's easy, Scott, to look at the stat sheet and say, okay, well, they got outscored by 15 here and they dropped down 35 there. I want to know exactly how did it happen, because that says a lot when you start evaluating your team about what's going on. Transition, straight line drives, things like that makes it a lot different than guys just coming down just shooting lights out.
Yep.
Some nights you're going to have that to where, we seen the Golden State, if it was a regular season, they would have had a franchise record of threes against us, but they shot lights out.
They did.
It wasn't an effort thing. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely.
So that's what I'm saying. How did all this come to be?
Yeah. Well, the turnovers combined with 5 of 28 from distance. That's a bad combination, right?
Yeah. If they're scoring and you can't score, it gets ugly quick. I understand that.
All right. Let's move on from that. The Kings did make a roster move. They basically cleared some cap space as they traded Jalen McDaniels and a second-round pick to the Spurs. It freed up about $5 million in cap space. They go from about $1 million under the cap to $5.8 million under the cap now. So it gives them a little more flexibility
to try to find
make some
somebody.
moves to find somebody else. A lot of people thought Jalen McDaniels would be somebody who would be on this roster. Were you surprised? Caught off guard?
No, not at all. I think this roster is so solid from 1 to 4 that I honestly thought we need another front court guy.
Yep.
We need more rim protection, Scott.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just going to keep it straight 100 with you. Even with the guys on the roster right now, we need more rim protection. We're going to need more rebounding. And when I talk about rebounding, I honestly think that it falls on each and every last one of those guys in the uniform, because gang rebounding for this team is going to be at a premium.
No doubt.
With the size of this roster, everybody is going to have to go out there and do something extra on the rebounding, because you're playing small ball, Scott.
Yep.
You got to get steals. You got to get deflections. You have to get rebounds, and you have to get out in transition. That's the only way you're going to win playing small ball.
Yep.
So if you're getting murdered on the rebound side every night, you talk about shooting 1 for 20-something, you ain't got to worry about that.
True. It's interesting. Mike Brown in his pregame presser on Sunday, last year, if we had to pick like a phrase for the year, it was spray threes, right?
Right.
This year, it's sprint to the corners. Like, he came in raring with stats about how in the first preseason game, and I haven't heard what game 3 is. I'd be interested to know what the numbers were on this, but game 1, their sprint to the corners and the opportunities they had them as a team were 77%. It resulted in 11 fast break points. Game 2 against the Warriors, 86%, resulting in 32 fast break points. He was pointing out how he was happy, and it's a point of emphasis.
Right.
Everything's about sprints to the corners. And he pointed out Fox, he had 15 sprint to the corner opportunities in the game, and Fox was 15 of 15. Would love to know what game 3 numbers were, but it sounds like it's going to be a dominant theme for Mike Brown this year.
It should be, because that's a part of small ball, Scott. If you don't rebound, guess what? Ain't no sprinting to the corners, because the defense is back. If you don't get steals, there's no sprinting to the corner.
Yeah.
You're taking the ball out of the basket. That's what I'm saying. All of these entities we're talking about has to be at a high level for the Kings in order for them to succeed. They are set up to go fast, to get up and down the floor, and really get after basketball teams. We're not going to be a walk the ball up type club, call offense, call set offenses, put the ball inside, beat teams down type basketball team. That's not us, Scott.
No, it's definitely not us. And, part of it too, which is hard to envision right now, we don't have a lot of our core pieces who might be starting or coming off the bench. Trey Lyles, who definitely will be in the rotation, who could potentially start.
Yeah.
Kevin Huerter, who's a big piece, who could potentially start.
Right.
So we're still kind of judging this with an incomplete look.
Yes. And the roster's still incomplete.
Yeah.
They might be able to make 2 moves with that. Who knows? But when I look at this team, Scott, and I go 1 through 4, I'm fine with every last substitution this team makes 1 through 4. But when I think about if Sabonis goes down, what is this team going to do? Yeah. You start breathing hard.
Yeah.
Right.
You made me lose my breath when you said that.
I mean, let's put it in perspective.
Yeah.
Even if De'Aaron goes down, okay, we need Malik Monk.
There's more solutions there. Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
If Keegan Murray goes down, okay, either we slide Debo at the 4, we slide Trey Lyles in. We keep this train rolling.
Right.
you know, same thing. Kevin Herter,
right.
Keon Ellis, whoever.
Yeah.
We keep the train
right.
moving.
It's derailed if Sabonis goes down.
That's the part that really, you know, I'm like, this team has to be able to look at that and say, okay, at least give us a spare tire. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just don't sit us out there with 4 run flats, because that run flat might go flat.
Sure.
Give us a spare tire.
That spare tire is not going to be as big. It's not going to go as fast.
But it's going to get you to the next stop.
Right. I agree. The Kings definitely could use a little bit of that. And, you know, maybe that's what Monte McNair has in mind. You know, obviously it's chess, not checkers. This is a move for 2 moves down the line.
True.
So we'll see. All right. The other news, of course, De'Aaron Fox is being, reported by Shams Charania, who's now with ESPN, that Fox is bypassing a 3-year, $165 million maximum extension this year for the possibility of a 4-year, $229 million maximum extension with the Kings next year. Or check this out, a 5-year, $345 million Supermax deal should he be named to an All-NBA team.
Whoa.
I think I would take my chances with that too.
You know what? And being on this basketball team, yes, no doubt. I'm not angry at Fox, like you said. Once again, on court, it's the same thing. Off the court, when it's business, it's still the same thing. It's chess, not checkers. It's all about the big move. And I'm not mad at De'Aaron. De'Aaron has to, you do what's best for you, because at the end of the day, I don't know too many people that's coming to see anybody else besides De'Aaron Fox on the floor.
No doubt.
You know, they're not looking at the upper brass saying we're looking at you guys. Yeah. So D, get every dollar you can. I understand that.
And I like players who bet on themselves. I mean, Fox could easily be an All-NBA player this year.
Oh, easily.
Ah.
Oh, easily.
You know,
and I like it, Scott, because for a player like De'Aaron, his destiny is in his own hands.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? You just be a little bit better than what you was last year. You do what you got to do. You take care of it. You know, if I look at De'Aaron Fox game and I said, okay, if I have to pick part that will probably push him to a better player, shoot 80% from the free throw line.
Right. Yes, that would be
simple as that.
Right away, for sure.
Simple as that.
Yep.
Shoot 80% from the free throw line, and I think that gets you that $300-something million.
Yeah. But, you know, I think from the Kings standpoint, I mean, you got to like the fact, you know, I know if I was De'Aaron Fox, I'd be pretty motivated if I know I could go from a potential $165 million to 345 in 1 year.
Hey,
that would motivate me $180 million.
That'll give me a whole lot of motion too, Scott.
That would fire me up to put up some more free throws if I needed to.
Hey, if he give me a piece of it, he can take I'll go on the road with him and keep me motivated.
Well, here's the thing. It's not like De'Aaron Fox is saying he wants to leave Sacramento by not signing this. In fact, you know, if he accomplishes all of that, the Kings are the only team that can really offer him that Supermax, right? So it also plays into the hands of the Kings. Now, the Kings would have a decision to make, I guess. Let's just run it through, think this out. De'Aaron Fox has a great year. He makes the All-NBA team. Are you going to invest nearly $70 million a year in De'Aaron Fox? Because that's what that would break out over 5 years on a top level Supermax deal.
And let's go here.
Yeah.
Let's say De'Aaron has a hell of a year, and which easily he can.
Yep.
But you still don't make the playoffs.
Yeah. Decisions to be made.
Yeah, that would be tough. Yeah. You know, I think, you know, it's fair, but it's unfair because it all encompasses together. But if De'Aaron has a great year and his team has a great year, I think that goes a lot further than just De'Aaron having a great year.
For sure. Yeah, the team's got to come along with the individual.
Right.
There's no doubt about that. But again, this isn't De'Aaron saying he doesn't want to be in Sacramento.
No.
I want to make sure fans understand that, right? You see, he didn't sign. He wants to leave. He's going to become a free agent and leave Sacramento. That's not what this is about.
You know what? I mean, I'm not saying that I'm the best friends with De'Aaron Fox, but he knows me and I know him, and we have, you know, we talk. He has never once said or even once had a type of inkling about he didn't want to be here in Sacramento. I think he likes being here in Sacramento.
Yeah, I do too.
He's very content about being here. Yep. So, I mean, and we're talking about a kid that was born and raised in Houston.
Yep.
You know, you would think he would like, man, I want to be a Rocket. You know, I want to be a Rocket.
Yeah.
No, I mean, but he's come to Sacramento and really embraced being here.
But here's the other point to what you're saying. Like, if the Kings are in this situation where Fox has the great year, but the Kings don't make the playoffs, how does that affect what they decide to offer potentially? But on the other end of it, let's just say De'Aaron has a great year. The Kings don't make the playoffs. How does that affect what De'Aaron is thinking in terms of wanting to stay with the organization?
You know what? It all comes together. Like I said, you know, it's a yin to a yang.
Yeah.
You know, everything has to come together and pretty much, you know, escalate higher than it did last year for both parties to be really intrigued about making this happen.
Yeah.
Because you think about it, he'd have been here for quite some time. You know, I look at De'Aaron right now the same way I looked at Dame Lillard in Portland. Dame gave Portland everything he had until the end, till it was like, okay, well, you know what? It's just time for me to move on. And I think De'Aaron is doing the exact same thing here. He has never once said, I want to go leave and be with a super team. He's once, you know what? I want to make this team win. You know, he's taking the page out of the Dame Lillard book. And you know, and to me, that's one of the most professional things you can do.
Yep, agreed with that. Now, obviously, Damian was in a situation where Portland's in a complete rebuild. And the Kings certainly are not in that scenario. So slightly different in terms of the roster construction, but I understand what your point is. When we come back, let's get into Damian Lillard. I want to talk about that a little bit because obviously it did not work out for him in Milwaukee last year. I mean, the Bucks were a disaster.
Well, it didn't work for them.
No.
Them.
It may have worked for Damian.
Right, it didn't work for them.
Okay, fair enough. The on-court play did not work out for Milwaukee, who were championship and bust. So we'll talk about that. We'll go around the league, get you caught up on everything. It's the final week of preseason basketball across the NBA. We'll get into that and a lot more. It's game night. It's coming to you live right here from the Sacktown Sports Studio, Sacktown Sports 1140.
And we are live on YouTube.
Oh, we got Anthony this time.
Yes.
Our one of our new engineers, High Flyer.
Yeah, I see.
The Rook.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. He gets the Rook moniker.
That's right. That's right. Anthony, it's good to have you here. You've been doing a great job with us.
Since you're a rookie, I'm about to send you on your first task, my brother.
All right.
The vet got some things for you to do.
All right.
When you were a rookie with the Kings, to what you can tell us, what were some of the things you had to do?
Ooh, a rookie back then was rough, man.
Yeah, it was a different world, wasn't it?
Yeah, because we had VHS tapes.
Yeah.
You had to carry the VCR and all these tapes.
Those were heavy. I mean, these were digitized. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you had all the bags and the luggage. It was like rough.
Yeah.
And then I want to say for the first part of the season, it was only being Purvis.
Wow. Yes. And he was out of service.
Purvis was hurt.
Out of service Purvis. So it was the High Flyer.
Exactly. I was the only rookie. And you know, I had to do everything that a rook had to do until Rodney McCray stepped in and said, okay, enough is enough.
Okay.
He's my rookie.
Okay.
Y'all asked him to do nothing.
And
y'all
he was the team leader. So if he had your back, you were good.
Rob McCray was like, he's my rook now.
Yeah.
And everybody else step off.
Yeah. Yeah. I got to ask you about Purvis Ellison. I forgot that you guys were there at the exact same time. Obviously, he came into the draft. There was no clear-cut number one. He'd come from Louisville where they'd won a championship, but it was such a tragic situation. He didn't even make it a season in Sacramento. He had injuries, eventually traded. Did you ever think he was going to make it in the league? I mean, when you first saw this guy, what were your thoughts?
Purvis was very talented, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a talented dude out there on the floor. You know, he reminded me, since I played with both of them, he reminded me of a young Ralph Sampson.
Really? Wow. Because, I mean, when you say that, Ralph was one of the best college basketball players ever.
Purvis had that type of game.
Wow.
He had the exact same type of game as Ralph. The problem with Purvis is that first, as soon as Purvis got off the plane, Sacramento booed him.
Ooh.
I mean, they booed Purvis as he was coming down the escalator.
They wanted Sean Elliott, right?
Yes.
Yeah, he was in that draft.
And they booed Purvis so hard, and Purvis was
All right, save it because we're almost back here.
Got you.
Yeah. We'll get into this. This is good stuff. Welcome back into Game Night right here, Sacktown Sports 1140. Scott Marshall on with the High Flyer, Henry Turner. We've got a half hour to go. Kings Live pregame, 5:30. Jason Ross in for that, along with Henry. 6 o'clock tip today in Salt Lake. G-Man with the call. The Kings looking for their first preseason win of the year. Not that we care about the wins or losses, but we're certainly expecting a better effort than what we saw on Sunday in that defeat at home to Portland. If you want to call 1-800-920-1140, 10, I know you've been waiting patiently. We'll get to you. And again, we will take your calls, we promise. During our YouTube chat during the break, we got into the topic of you being there the same year as a rookie with Purvis Ellison. I was asking about Purvis Ellison because that was one of the tough picks that just never worked out for the Kings. It was one of the rare times they had the number one pick.
He's
it was the only time,
only number one pick.
Right. And it wasn't a consensus pick at the time. But they took him over. Some people wanted Sean Elliott, and then he ended up getting hurt. He got nicknames, out of service Purvis, like all the stuff that went along with that. He didn't even end up staying a year with the Kings.
Scott, I think, you never know when you meet somebody about their mental toughness.
Yeah.
You see them play on the basketball floor and you see the talent that they had. Purvis was a very talented dude on the floor. Man, like I said earlier, he reminded me of a young Ralph Sampson.
Yeah, which is the highest praise you can give somebody.
The dude could do everything with the basketball. It wasn't too much that he couldn't do, but his mental capacity for being tough was shattered when he came to Sacramento.
Yeah.
Because the fans didn't like him. The fans booed him.
Yeah, and it's interesting because he'd won a national championship
in
Louisville.
Right. I mean, even when he came back, because he got hurt, even when he came back, because like our lockers was right next to each other, and every day, Scott, this dude hung his head down and said, Hank, they hate me.
Wow.
They hate me.
That's too bad because Sacramento is such a city that embraces everybody. That's so hard to hear, right?
Right, exactly. And, and he worked hard. He came back. And when he came back, soon as Purvis did anything wrong, if he turned the basketball over, if he didn't grab a rebound, they booed him.
Wow.
And I'm telling you, Scott, every game he would come sit down and all he said was, they hate me, man. I don't want to be here.
Oh,
they
man.
hate me. They hate me.
That's
they
horrible.
Hate me. I really felt for him.
Yeah.
I really felt for him, and he was like, man, I can't wait to leave. I just can't wait. He did not have a good time here in Sacramento. He might be one of the only professional basketball players that came through this city that looked at Sacramento and said, I don't want to be here.
Yeah, you hardly ever hear that.
Ever.
Yeah, exactly.
Every player that comes here is like, man, Sac is okay.
This was the best place in my
y'all slipping on Sac.
Yeah.
Purvis Ellison might be the only one that's like, man, I don't ever want to go. I don't like it. They don't. The main thing was he felt like they didn't like him.
Yeah.
It wasn't like he didn't like the city. It was like, they don't like me.
He just couldn't take it. He was too young, couldn't handle it, hadn't been in the league enough, all those type of things.
Spent 1 year in college, came out very young, by himself. Yeah. And he was like, man, they hate me.
Because we all know the truth is if he hadn't gotten hurt and it started to play well, this town would have loved him.
Oh, would have loved it, man. Yeah. Would have loved it, no doubt.
Yeah. What a shame. That's a tough story. All right. Before we move on, go around the league, I promised we'd get to some calls. Tin, you've been waiting for a while. Tin, how are you, my friend? Welcome into game night.
Yeah. Hi, Scott Marsh. Hi, Carl. Henry Turner. Do you remember like Utah Jazz, Darren Williams? That's when I was watching basketball highlights. I believe this was in 2006. And he had a nice crossover into a pull-up J. And I like De'Aaron Fox shooting just like Darren Williams. I like Fox shooting with no hesitancy. I see his confidence has grown. And in year 8, he's due for a big playoff push. The last 2 years have been very convincing. And I am glad that they brought in DeRozan, who is born in California, so that can take some of the pressure off of De'Aaron. You have a 35-year-old veteran who knows his state. I think that they are poised for a run.
Yeah, no, Tin, appreciate the call. Thank you very much. De'Aaron Fox, yeah, it's hard to believe. I mean, it is year 8, right?
It's crazy that it's been that fast. And I want to say the De'Aaron Fox that we know and love right now didn't emerge until COVID hit. Whatever happened to De'Aaron Fox in the bubble changed his whole game. De'Aaron Fox has always been talented. He's always been a good basketball player, but we saw something different click in that bubble, and that's when he really started becoming dominant for this basketball team. And what I can say that's on the positive side for De'Aaron is that he's gotten better. He's adding something every year. So I'm kind of with the caller. This year, we're looking to see De'Aaron put it all together because you remember it was okay. You know, De'Aaron's the leader of this basketball team. Well, now he's knocking down 3-pointers. Mm-hmm. Okay, now he's fourth quarter clutch fox.
Yep.
Now it's like time for him to put all that together and be that dude.
Yeah, and I am really interested to see as the year evolves how, to Tim's point, him and DeMar work together, especially late in games, the two alpha dogs who have been number 1 and number 2 in the league in fourth quarter points.
I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be easy because with this basketball team, Scott, everything is free. Everything is free flowing. Everything is read and react. So they're not really running set plays. Mm-hmm. They're not really saying, okay, it's your time to shoot the ball, or you shot the ball 2 times the last time down. Now it's time for someone else. Everything is free. You can go. I think at the end of the games, it's going to be more so of all of these guys being professional and looking at who has the hot hand.
Yeah.
Because, last year, it was plenty of times. It wasn't Sabonis.
Right.
It wasn't De'Aaron.
Yeah.
It was Malik the Magnificent.
True.
It was the Monkyard Dog that had the ball in his hands, and they were like, okay, Malik, lead us to the promised land. Yeah. So I'm thinking that if De'Aaron, deferred to Malik because he was, knocking the shots down that way, he's not going to have a problem with a 6-time All-Star.
No, I agree with you. And you're right. We can't just talk about De'Aaron and DeMar because Malik's going to be out there most of those times, and he's a dominant scorer too, comes through in the clutch. All right, let's take Steven. Steven, welcome into Game Night. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. Scotty the Body Marsh, Henry High Flyer. How you guys doing?
We're doing great. We're doing great. What's on your mind?
So I wanted my initial point to call in was just talk about just basic play in the preseason. I know we're not trying to I know it's preseason. We're kind of nitpicking. Henry, I see you. The way that you read the game, the way that you look at preseason, it's not just, preseason, let's just see how it goes together. That's like, no. Let's see the chemistry. Let's see how you guys are going to flow. Let's see how you guys work off ball. You know what I'm saying? Like, I see where you guys are going with that. That was kind of my question, was like, how are you guys, what's your guys' basic synopsis? I mean, it's kind of like really early to kind of like really get any kind of like solid vision on what we're all kind of seeing.
Oh, no
but on your guys' other point about De'Aaron, I really feel like he has number one. Okay, so he has Batman capabilities. He's got Batman powers, even though Batman is just a rich man with gadgets. I feel like with all those skills that he has to be a quote number one, a 1A, I feel like he has no problem being a sitting back taking number 2, because based on his skill set and with the people that we have kind of around him, with the pick and roll that's working between DeRozan and Sabonis right now, that really kind of opens up an entire, like it leaves Fox completely out of that connection right there, leaving him open to do whatever he wants.
Steven, thanks for the call. Appreciate that. Some good points.
You know what, Steve? Let me put it to you like this. Since you're a comic book guy, and I like the way you emphasize the Batman. You're right. He's just a rich guy with a bunch of gadgets. But I don't think the Sacramento Kings are looking at a Batman and Robin type situation. I think the Kings are more of the Avengers.
Really?
Yeah, because you have a bunch of great guys they're great on their own, but they got to come together as a collective to make this work. So yeah, Hulk is a monster, but Hulk can't do it without Iron Man. Iron Man can't do it without Thor. Thor can't do it without the rest of the guys.
Yep.
So this team is kind of like built that way. So I don't think it's going to be a big ego type thing saying that, well, who's the leader of the Avengers? Well, there is no leader. We just all come together for the greater good.
All right. To Steven's other point about taking some time to come together, you normally say you can tell in 20 or 25 games, right, what the team's going to look like. What do you take for this year's team? What kind of leeway are you giving them to try and figure it all out together?
Well, you know what, Scott? I feel very optimistic about this team because the first 2 games, you didn't see a hiccup. You did not see a hiccup, and you're integrating a 6-time All-Star. I think right now the read and react offense is really the best thing going for trying to incorporate another main guy, because he don't really have to work off of, okay, well, how am I going to fit in De'Aaron's plays? Or how am I going to run the offense when the ball is structured to go down to Sabonis? Everybody has to read and react, and it's free. There is no say-so spot to where I'd have to be. I'm reacting off of off of what you do.
Right.
So it's easy. It's almost like street ball. I'm reacting off of you. If it's a pick and roll, I pop. If not, I jet to the basket. You have to learn that style of play. So with a guy like DeMar DeRozan, he looked very, very good with this team because it's read and react. You've done that all your life.
Right. You can show up and do that in 5 seconds.
You've done that all your life.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, we're going to get to some more calls. We'll do that. I do want to just get to the point, because I did throw it out before the break. You had mentioned everything going on in terms of, with Fox and just looking at it in terms of the league and Damian Lillard and how they compare and contrast. I mean, last year for Milwaukee, it was a horrendous season for the Bucks, right? I mean, they got nowhere near their goals. They thought making the move to get Lillard would be a championship. They ended up not as good defensively, all those things around it.
Right.
Does that scenario still have a chance to work at the highest level?
It does if Giannis buys back in. Giannis is kind of like the East Coast LeBron because he's so dominant that
because he has a family member on the team.
Yeah, right. Yeah. He's so dominant that he can almost lead you to something special by himself. Yeah. So you sprinkle other guys around him that's going to help him. But if he's not in tuned, well, having Dame there and having some of the other guys around him, it just don't work. It's not going to be the same.
Yeah.
So, and I honestly think that losing the big fella gonna hurt.
Yeah, you're talking about Lopez.
Yeah, losing him is going to hurt because I think that allowed Giannis to get downhill and do what he needed to do because Brook was so efficient at that 3-point shot.
No doubt. He was a big piece of what's going on. All right. We got to take the break. When we come back, our final segment, we'll get to our remaining calls out there. Sam, KD, hang patiently. We will get to you before it's over. We'll get thoughts on what we want to see from the Kings tonight in Salt Lake as well. It's game night right here. Sacktown Sports 1140.
All right. We are live on YouTube again.
All right. What do we have going on? Any good chatting there?
We got someone who called that the Kings are going to be a 6 to 8 seed.
Okay.
And other than that, that's about it.
Well,
4 or 5 seed as well.
Let's talk about your nickname, Scotty the Body. Where did you get that from? I mean, mine's the high flyer. Everybody know back in the day I jumped out the gym.
Well, first of all, just like you,
where did the body come
high
from?
flyer's obvious. Obviously, Scotty the Body's obvious too, right?
Okay, my bad.
So I don't know if I need to explain it.
Must have been in your younger days.
Well, I've been here 29 years, right? So, yeah, so maybe back in the day, it may not be true now. I was also Scotty Too Hobby at one point.
Like I said, it must have been back in your younger days.
Back before I had thinning gray hair. Yeah, way, way long ago. That's true. All right. For the Kings, we'll throw out. Some people are throwing 4 through 5, 6 through 8. Obviously, there's a huge difference between being 6 versus 7 or 8. 6, you're in the playoffs. 7, you're in the play-in. The Kings are obviously shooting. I don't think they're necessarily. I mean, let me backtrack this. They would love to be a 1 through 4 team, of course. But the goal is to be somewhere in the top 6 and to be a playoff team from the beginning.
There you go. Play in, I think, is a failure for this team.
Yeah.
1 through 6, I'm fine. I don't care where you land. 1 through 6, and then we'll evaluate what else we need to do.
Yeah.
Because, I know a lot of people are like, well, we have to make it to the second round this year. Second round is going to be tough, but I want to see them legitimately make it, and then we can talk about, okay, can we make it to the second round?
Agreed. And that's the expectation from the top down with this team. There's no doubt about it.
That's what it should be.
Yep. Welcome back in the game night right here, Sacktown Sports 1140. Scott Marshall up with the high flyer, Henry Turner. Again, Kings Live pregame coming your way in 15 minutes at the bottom of the hour. Tip tonight is 6 o'clock. G-Man with the call. Jason Ross in with the high flyer for Kings Live pregame. We'll get to your call. Sam KD will be right there. Henry, let's just lay it out. Sunday, Kings laid an egg. They got to come out with a little more effort, a little more intensity. They got to figure it out. They don't necessarily have to win. I don't care if they win or not, truthfully. Nobody's going to remember whether they win or lose the fourth game of the preseason. That's irrelevant.
Yeah, right.
But we do want to see a much better bounce back from Sunday.
I want to see the effort there.
Yeah.
Whether you win or lose, once again, it makes no difference. Preseason, I really don't care. But definitely want to see the effort. If this team comes out and they go down 30 against the Jazz, I'm going to be sorely disappointed.
That will be
sorely disappointed. But like I said, at the end of the day, whether it's a W, whether it's an L, so what? Just come out and give me the energy, give me the effort, and show me that it's like one of those situations to where that was a fluke. Okay, we did it. We understand. We took the smack on the hand.
Yep.
We understand what's going on.
No doubt. And it was good to see Jordan McLaughlin for the first time on Sunday. I think he's a piece that will fit in to the overall roster for the Kings. You'll get your first look at him tonight.
I've watched him over the years, and he's a very solid point guard. I'm not saying that he does anything great out there, but he can run a basketball team. He's one of those guys that can come in and give you some valuable minutes while your main guys are coming off the bench. That's like that conversation we just had about, do you feel good about all the substitutions? Well, I feel good about him giving Fox some rest out there. I have no problem having him running the point.
Yep. All right. Game night is always being brought to you by Power Business Technology. Experience for yourself how the Power of Family can help you with all your business copier needs. Give them a call today, 1-844-POWER-BZ. We're going to powercopiers.com. All right, let's go back to the lines. KD, thanks for being patient. Welcome into game night. How are you, my friend?
Hey, guys. How's it going?
We're doing great.
I just wanted to let you guys, some of the callers know, De'Aaron is top 10 in the lead in scoring. Top 10. He's 8th in the lead in scoring. So, if you look at all the guys to be up, there's not one guy above him or even in the top 10 that nobody here in Sacramento would want to not take. Durant, you name it. Jokic, they're all in that 10. So De'Aaron he's one of the most prolific scorers we have ever had here in Sacramento. He can score at any will. That said, to Henry's point, I don't know what we're going to do in the inside because that's where we've always struggled. But we do have the weapons. You got to figure DeRozan is 17th in the lead in scoring. So I think the Kings, if they're able to put it together, they're going to give teams fits because everybody on that floor can score, and they can score at different spots. But De'Aaron, he's a whole nother level. And anybody that listens or watches sports in Sacramento, if they think any different, they don't know basketball. And I just wanted to say that, guys. You guys have a good day.
Yeah, appreciate it, KD. You brought it. That was strong. Had your numbers behind it. Again, I think, with Fox, and we were just talking about him not signing the extension today, waiting till the end of next year and what that could mean for him. Obviously, it'll just be interesting to see how that all plays out. Scenario, most likely he signs back with the Kings.
It is, but like I said, it all depends upon how everything goes,
sure,
how everything comes together.
We got 82 games between all of that.
Right. We got a whole lot of basketball to play before we start deciding on what's going to happen there.
No doubt. All right, Sam, welcome into game night. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. Thanks, guys. Hey, well, look, if the Kings get down 32 tonight, I'm going to switch over to the Masked Singer.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you. The guy that hasn't really convinced me that's feeling warm and fuzzy, I'm not sure if Malik Monk is satisfied in the position he is in, watching his movements, watching everything. I think he's a little put off that he's not starting.
All right. Thank you, Sam. Appreciate that. Malik missed one of the preseason games, right? So I don't know about that. It is interesting, right? When Malik re-signed, I think the expectation is that he would be anointed into the starting lineup. I think that's what most people thought outside the organization. That was never really the plan. Mike Brown still wants to use him off the bench, and we'll see with Kevin Huerter coming back if Kevin assumes that starting role. Right now it's Keon Ellis, but I think we also know things can change quickly.
True. And, I think that's going to be up in the air for a minute, because Malik did, say he wanted to start.
Yeah.
But then again, through Malik's negotiations, I'm pretty sure it was some teams out there that wanted Malik and said, we'll start you.
Right.
But he didn't take that. He came back to the Sacramento Kings.
And obviously him and Mike Brown had conversations.
Right.
Obviously.
I mean, it had to be a bunch of conversations to be had between both of those guys and even the GM and the owners.
Sure.
I'm pretty sure everybody had their hand in on that conversation. So whatever it was and whatever decision was made, Malik was fine with it.
Yeah. And assuming, Kevin Huerter comes back and he's okay, he's part of the rotation. The one thing I feel pretty comfortable about, it will not be Keon Ellis starting in that role. It'll be Huerter or Monk.
Oh, I mean, right now it's going to be a log jam. It's going to be a log jam at that position. So, and Mike Brown has a lot on his hands because he's going to have to really evaluate who's going to be able to get time, because we got a plethora of guards that these guys want to play.
No doubt. Everybody wants to get out there on the court. All right. Last few remaining moments. I know you're all about combinations. Is there any combinations that you want to see or any individuals you're really looking forward to? Because obviously it's the last couple of chances before it counts for real.
Right now, Scott, we know who our main 7 is out there. All right.
Yep.
I'm still fine if Mike Brown is still looking at some other guys and trying to figure out if or where they can help this team. All the Jones boys, trying to see where they are and if they can help this basketball team. Let those guys play, get a good long look at them, to where they can get comfortable out there on the floor and then be able to evaluate.
I agree. Now, what I want to see is the full house combination tonight. I want to see Kobe, Isaac, and Mason, all the Jones out there, along with Boogie and Keon, the Ellis twins.
Yeah,
the full house combination.
Wait. All Jones and 2 Ellises. I like that.
Best poker team in the league, right?
There you go.
I doubt if we're going to see that tonight. But we will see more of Jordan McLaughlin. Again, the 2 players I think you and I are really intrigued with are Isaac Jones and Boogie Ellis.
Right. And honestly, I think Isaac Jones has a window. I think he has a nice sized window of opportunity to get out there and show that he can help this basketball team. I love what Boogie Ellis brings. I think he's very talented. I honestly think that, he can play on an NBA team. It's just, once again, in our backcourt, we're log jammed.
Yep, no doubt. Speaking of some bigs, what about Skal Labissiere? Back with this team, played in Stockton last year.
I like Skal. He's been here. They know what he can bring. So he'll be another one that they'll probably take an extra look at and say, okay, let's evaluate this. And
hasn't seen a lot of floor time yet.
And can he get it done? Yes.
Be interesting to see if he gets some run here tonight or Thursday down in LA. By the way, we should be on remote for that game on Thursday down at the Intuit Dome.
You know what? How can we make that happen?
We got to figure it out.
How can we make that happen? I'm with it. If we can make it happen, I'm going to pack my bags. Let's go to LA, baby.
Did you see the 60 Minutes piece on Steve Ballmer?
No, I haven't.
He was featured on Sunday on 60 Minutes. Just a really fantastic look at him, his background at the arena. Pretty amazing.
I want to go see it.
Yeah, no, we got to find a way to get down there this year. I know you'll be there at some point during the season. All right, final thoughts.
Bring the effort.
Yep.
Bring the effort. I don't care what happens. Bring the effort. You can shoot bad. You can shoot lights out. Bring the effort.
No repeat from Sunday because we cannot watch another 48 minutes of that.
Right.
All right, that's going to do it for game night. Again, coming up next, Kings Live pregame. Jason Ross is here. You'll stay with him, Henry. Take everybody up until 6 o'clock. G-Man with the call tonight. Kings and Jazz. We'll get a look at the Utah roster. Again, Lauri Markkanen did resign. He's back with Utah. Of course, the Kings were interested in him. Warriors were. A lot of teams were interested in Lauri Markkanen. We know that, but he'll be in a Jazz uniform this season. All right, that's going to do it for game night. We appreciate you listening. Stay tuned, Kings Live pregame, and all your Kings coverage all evening long right here. Sacktown Sports, 1140.
Keegan Murray plays here.
Keegan scores another three-pointer. Keegan Murray knocking it down for 23 points. Snatch De'Aaron Fox for game scoring honors.